Forgive me. I'm still exhausted from my trip to Detroit over the weekend. We are on Daf Lamed Ches Amud Aleph. Oh, I think it's in the back. All the way in the back.
All the way in the back.
Yeah. But mine is the same way. It's supposed to be, I don't know why they put it this way, the Vilna Shas, but so it does not supposed to be all the way the last Masechta in Noshi. Right, but the Vilna Yerushalmi, they printed it this way. Halach above, page Lamed Ches Amud Aleph. Okay, Miyahish. This is when they go out to war. They make the following announcement. The Kohen Mashul Milcham makes the following announcement to the assembled multitudes. Who is the man who took a woman and who betrothed a woman and has not completed taking her? Echad makes a difference if you are betrothing a woman who is the first time around, a virgin, or Echad Amaris Samana, it's a woman who's second time around, she's a widow. Even if she is your Yavama, right? You actually got her as a hand-me-down from your deceased brother, right? And even if you were way already at war, and you heard that your brother died, well, actually, your brother was away at war, and you heard that he died. No, you were away at war, and you heard that your brother died. Choser uba, you come back low, you come back home. All these people who we mentioned till now, hear the words of the Kohen, who when they formed the battalions for battle, they go back home, and they supply food and water, and fix the highways for the army. Okay, says the Gemara. Asher Ires Isha, this is mostly in the Bali, except for the last two lines of the Sugya. Asher Ires Isha, who betrothed the woman, and the yellow, Ruba, Shanasariba, I only know a first time around guy, a bachelor. Shanasariba married a first time around girl, right, a maiden. Minai Ruba Shanasamana, how we know that it's true about a young man who married a widow, or an almon, a widower. Shanos Ariva married a young maiden. I know it's true about these as well. Isha Mikoma, it says Isha, a woman, Mikomakom. However we define a wife, that suffices to get her to come back. Matam Lomar Chadashos, so why does it say new woman, a new wife? Prat Lamarsis Gushoso precludes a guy who takes back a woman who had previously divorced. On Rabbi Yossi says, Zosamaris, this teaches us, however, Hanosias Island is only married to Island is a woman who's barren and cannot give birth. Since there's no mitzvah to remain with her since she's barren, so Eino Choser he cannot renege, because it's got to be something which is in the parameter of a mitzvah, a pruvu, and Island is not a parameter of mitzvah pruvu. Now you can marry her, and you can remain married to her, and it's vow marriage. But since it's not technically a woman who's made for pruvu, so therefore you don't go back from the war in order to be with your wife who's on this because it's not a mitzvah to be with her. Now, says more very interesting distinction. Even if you have one Shomer Yom and one woman whose Shomer Yom she's waiting to be Misyabemes by one of five brothers, so every one of these five brothers goes back from the battlefront for her. Now the thing is, obviously only one of them is going to end up being Miyabimer. But nevertheless, since each one in his turn can potentially be Miyabimer, so therefore they all have the right to claim the privilege of going back home from war. So it says more that's the case with Kavasah. It should be similar. If you have one house for five brothers, they should all be, in other words, let's say that they got a Yerusha, one house among the five of them. So then, in that case, you should also say you should be allowed to go back home, all five, because maybe one of them will get the house, and that falls the category of somebody who built the house. So it says more, no, Taman ain't kol echad v'echad roi leisheba. There, very interesting distinction. There, each one individually never doesn't have a right in this house. Each one has a 20% interest right now. Nobody has potential for full 100% interest unless they buy the others out. So right now, each one of them has a portion, and none of them have a whole. However, however, in the case of Yibum, the Hacha, which is discussed here, Kol Echad v'Echad Roi Liyabim. Only one of them will actually be Miyabim, but the one who's Miyabim will be Miyabim completely. As opposed to dividing up an estate, when you divide up an estate, you divide it up proportionally, right? When Yibum, you can't divide up one proportion, one of them is going to be Miyabim, right? So therefore, it's only one of them is going to be Miyabim, but he will be Miyabim completely and totally. Or Cholet completely and totally. The same thing would be true as well. So therefore, each one of them gets the right to come back for Yibum, because potentially each one could theoretically be the Yavam, whereas in the case of the people who went who inherited the estate, since each one, it's not each one their turn, but they all have equal portions. So therefore, the house is not considered to be miyucha to any one of them, and none of them come back for more. Okay. So now it says more further, 2 lines before the end of Allah Chavak. Now this is not in the Bavli. It says, Ma damila. What's analogous to our Mishnah? Our Mishnah says if your brother died or you were away at war, so you come back home in order to be miyabemer. What's similar to that? Kidesh ishom actually lachi beis chodesh. Don't ask me why a guy did a cockamamie thing like this, but he married a woman with the intent, with the stipulation that it should only take effect after 12 months. If that 12 months elapsed in the middle when he was at war, he has the right to go back home and be with his wife whenever those 12 months end, because that's when his kiddushin takes effect. Yes? Something bother you which I can answer or not answer?
Well, maybe a little bit. Let's say, like, why is he going back by Yerushalmi? Shouldn't like
by what?
Yerushalmi.
Because you want it to be able to complete.
So why doesn't he go back right away where he says he has to go back where you basically?
Because it's not muras to her until the 12 months elapses.
That's still in the locus, if you say.
No, it depends what language you use. You construct a language which will only make a kedushin after 12 months. Okay. It says more of these guys don't go back. Appointed Beis Shar, somebody who builds a Beis Shar is like a gatehouse, not a real house. Outside is like an open air portico, it's not a real house. The best is a balcony. Somebody who plants 4 food bearing trees, which is 1 short of the parameter of Karen, which is 5. Plants 5 barren trees, pine cones. Somebody takes back his divorcee. Or somebody who is an Amona married to a Kohen Gadol. Obviously, Kohen Gadol does not go back to be with his wife, to Amona. And the truth is, when the Gemara said previously, you know what I'm now thinking about, the Gemara said previously, the previous mission said, or maybe it's Zosmer Sanosis Islandis, Marin Islandis, oh, they meet to Leisha Yimoy, there's no mitzvah if they don't go back. It seems to me a bit of a non sequitur going on the previous Mishnah. Maybe that same really should go on this Mishnah. Because here it says, if I'm going to marry a Kohen Gadol, Kohen Gadol doesn't go back. If a regular Kohen married a Gush Chalutza, doesn't go back, because it's not a mitzvah to be with her. Maybe on this, Rabbi Yossi is saying, island is the same way, it's not a mitzvah to be with her. That would make more sense. Why would you say that?
People that go back, it's a tzad avera.
Oh, it's a tzad avera mamish. And that's just not a tzad mitzvah. That's an interesting chiluk. You hear what he's saying? What Donald say? What? Donald said that maybe only a case where there's mamish and avera doesn't go back. But only there's just no mitzvah, so maybe that would go back. So it's not necessarily comparable to this Mishnah. That's good. Okay, shkoyach. Mamzeres is seal Yisrael. Only it's case avera taka. A mamzeres and the sin is married to Yisrael. Or Bas Yisrael is married to a mamzer nosin, lo yachol to go back. But even if he fixes his house, lo yachol to go back. Nowadays, if you live in certain areas of Chicago and you expand your house, so you would go back, right? Because this is a chashuv, a thing. But if you just rebuild your house the same way it was, it's not considered to be enough to go back. Right, but let's remember by a base of Yerushalmi Sotah. Somebody built a brick house in their Sharlon. Lo yachol there. We not go back because those houses would collapse, as we'll see in the Gemara, and therefore they're not true houses.
How did the halos be when you have to go back, so the dumpster pulls up?
And the dumpster pulls up, okay? This is not in the Bible. If you made a new ticket, you go back. If not, you don't go back. So that's be a davar chodesh. However, sodo beseed, what if you replaster? Upasam bachalos and open windows, not an addition. Lo yachol you want to go back. So the Sheilas David Karliner, has great difficulty with this Gemara because he has a whole Shaila whether you can make a Beis HaMerchotz into a shul. And he says if you open windows in it, you can make it into a shul because it's not a Beis HaMerchotz anymore. You do something to change it, replat. So he says, Yerushalmi Sotah, not that way. Right? He says, because here it says, that's not to be Chodosh. So he says between that type of Chodosh and this type of Chodosh. Doesn't really explain this so much, but I think maybe what he means to say is that there it's a getter of Simcha. Here it's a getter of Simcha. So it's not Simcha to open your windows. It's Simcha to expand, but not Simcha to open your windows. Then you go back home. But if you just open windows, it's a shinui. It's not a Beis HaMerchotz anymore. And you can make it into a shul, but you don't make a big sin. There wouldn't be parallel to the amount of simcha required that a guy should go back for war and stay at home for the duration of the war. Okay? Anyway, it's interesting though issue there that the shiur stuff, it says that you want to make a Beis HaMerchotz. I assume a church would be the same thing. The shul, so that type of shit of opening windows is sufficient. Okay? Now, what if the house was big and he made it small? So then you don't go back home. Oh no, you do go back home. Sorry, you do go back home. And if it was one house, you made it into two houses by now, then also you go back as well. Reb Lezer says it's considered to be like building a new house. Reb Lezer Sharon. So the people of the Sharon plain, lo yechozim will not go back. Shem mitzchachi ba'mayishua twice every Shemitah they have to rebuild their houses because they fall down, these brick houses. Now, Naf Kohen Gadol, as we know, by Mitzpale and Yom Kippur down for the people of Sharon on Yom Kippur. Everybody remembers that it's a vote of Yom Kippur. Shlo yasu b'tei kivrem, that their houses should not become their grave. Remember that from the vote of Yom Kippur? You remember that from the vote of Yom Kippur? When that field of Kohen Gadol, when he came out of the Kodesh Kodashim, it says, "Avalanche Ashona Yomer Shlo Yivatem Kivreim." It's there. Because is there earthquakes? Is that what it is? I thought it was just because the ground is soft. Because the Sharon is like where Tel Aviv is.
It's supposed to be less common now.
They're more common to have earthquakes back then? That's interesting. Okay.
I just think it's because the houses were basically the soil wasn't that good in the houses.
Yeah, the soil shifted, stuff like it was like on sand and stuff like that. That's what I thought. Okay.
I think that the number is certainly the Turkish rule, the number of earthquakes.
And they particularly figured that area out. Okay. Veilu shein zozim and klema. These are the ones who stay put. They don't even go to hear the Kohen make the pronouncement to the nation. Who are these? He built the house and actually dedicated it, but he hasn't lived there yet. Not a karam, he planted a vineyard, and he redeemed it, but he hasn't actually drunk from it yet. So he marries his betrothed fiancée, but Vakone says Vimto, he's supposed to be home for a year. Okay, says Vimto, somebody who takes in his Yavama. Shneimar says, Noki lebeso. He should be clean to his house. Noki lebeso, he should be clean to his house. That's zebeso. It's his house mamish. Yeh says the word Yezer Karma that comes to allude to his vineyard. The Simach as Ishto, he should rejoice with his wife, that refers to his wife. Asher Zu Ishto, Asher Lokach, which he took, Love Yivama, also including Yivama, who he married. And these guys, not only do they go home, not only do they not have to go out to war, but they do not supply water and food, they do not fix the highways as well. But a person built a house and consecrated it. He was there for 12 months. That's what our Mishnah goes back and says that he doesn't even have to leave the house to go out to hear the words of the Kohen. Not the Kerem, he planted a vineyard and redeemed it. Below Shah, so now yet there for 12 months. The Kul made him in Aisha. And these are both learned from a woman. Ma'isha Tzirchashem is a chosh, just like women get, her husband gets 12 months to stay home. Av Kulan Tzirchashem is a chosh, so do they all get 12 months. Time we learn Kol Shoy, Oimrim, Yeshim, all those we spoke about here. Yeshim Metalim, Besochia, they sit and at idle in the city. Venam Sapki Mayim Muslim, they do not supply water and food. Venam Sapki Zadroid, they do not have to clean the fix the highways. Shema says, over, nothing should pass over him. All love ain't no over. We'll say about the guy who's a first-year husband, Shana Rishona. All love ain't over, but other people are responsible still to do this. Now, I saw the Yerushalmi brings this down. For the life of me, I can't understand why he brought down Dafka and the Yerushalmi. The Yerushalmi is almost identical, Bavli. Brings down Machlekes between the Araim and the Red Bas. Izman Hazeh. In Chutz La'aretz, is a chassan required to stay home for the first year, not even go on business trips? Or can he leave on business trips during the first year? So the Yiraim sounds like it's knowing even nowadays in Chutz La'aretz, so therefore must be that even business trips are prescribed during the first year of marriage. But the Red Baz says we never heard such a thing. It's not business trips, it's only specifically the army. So although he didn't see the Yiraim, it seems. So it's a big machlokus whether this is a contemporaneously relevant Mishnah or not. Okay? So as we went further, I think the meaning nowadays is to avoid overnight trips during the Shana Rishona. What?
There's a Tosfos series by co-founder in Eretz Yisrael.
Yeah.
Tosfos says, well, it's kind of that. Tosfos is that. We don't say that because
Sakara, right.
Sakara.
Right, so the...
So it could... But that it might also be a reason by business.
Because, but nowadays it's not such a big sakana, but I think it's still the minhag is to require rishus from the spouse in order to actually go out during Shana Rishona. Okay. I'm not a big fan personally of Shana Rishona. I've noticed that people who don't learn Shana Rishona at night, there's some people who won't go out to night during Shana Rishona. Stay home and learn. My experience of observation has been that people who don't go out for Seder during Shana Rishona never end up going out to Seder for the rest of their lives. So I'm not so convinced it's such a good idea. Okay. The Shotrim could continue to speak to the nation. V'amra, they said, now here the critical point which the Gemara is going to discuss is, it doesn't say that the Kohen says this. It says the Shotrim say this. Now remember, till now the Kohen was speaking. Now all of a sudden we have the Shotrim, the officer speaking. So he starts speaking to the nation. When they said, if somebody is fearful and soft-hearted, should go back home. What does it mean? Soft, afraid and soft-hearted? Kishma, like it sounds like. He cannot stand by the hardness, toughness of war, and see an outstretched sword. Can't stand the sight of blood. That's what we're talking about, okay? Baloney. Do you have baloney in your Gemaras? He says no. He says, the Rachaleva, a very famous statement, some of you afraid of Avera said he's going to fall because of his sins. The Torah gave him an excuse. Gave him all sorts of excuses that he could go home and nobody would know why he's going home. because he's then now you know that he's a Russia, and because they'll think, oh, he has a house, or he has a wife, or something like that. They'll think it's because he's one of the other groups. Okay, so that's why they're giving all sorts of excuses to latch onto. Not that he's going to use excuses, but he'll be assimilated within all those that are using the excuses. Rabbi Yossi Omer, Amono, what's this type of stereotype about Amono marries the Kohen Gadol, or Gushachal Utz Kohen Ediot, or Mamzeres in the Sina married to Israel, or Bas Yisrael Nosin and Mamzer Nosin. Those are fearful and soft on it. Now, the Gemara gets a little bit nuanced here. It's the best word I can use. And I'm going to change the gears a couple of times here on my own initiative tonight. Okay? That's the most fun. There's no greater happiness than coming to a shot in the Yerushalmi that you don't think anybody has ever said before you. And it's possible. And probably it's rare that you can actually get off and say something which somebody never said. But in Yerushalmi, hey, see, it says, V'yosva Shaitim, the Shaitim continue. Ein Lashon V'yosva, Zev V'yosva, El Tosefes. It sounds like a Tosefes in addition, right? But here the word Tosefes does not mean what it normally means. Here Tosefes means repetition or reiteration, not addition. Okay? That's key. Okay? So when it means Moisif, it's like Moisif Lachzor. You continue to repeat. Okay? So also what this price is saying, or this position the Gemara is holding, is that the Kohen actually said the statement, and the Shodim say it's over. It says B'yosva Shodim, means the Shodim continue to reiterate, or continue to repeat, because Halach is the Kohen says it in Lashon HaKodesh. And the Shoitrim then repeat it, b'chol lashon, whatever language is necessary for the assembled multitudes of soldiers. Okay? So it says, we see V'yosva Shoitim and V'yosva lashon Tosefes. Kiddush Do'amar Moisef Ani Al Divrei Rebbe. It's like a person says, I'm adding to what my Rebbe said. He doesn't really mean he's adding. It means that he's repeating what he's saying. He wants to go over it. Chazer Ibr. Okay? That's what, Divrei Rebbe, that's Rebbe's opinion. I'm sorry. So Tani, that's one interpretation. Another interpretation, Bryce says, Achroinim mina Tosefes. The last words are the Tosefes. What does it mean the last words are Tosefes? It repeated the whole thing. It's not just the last words that are Tosefes. So the thing was just Tosefes. If Tosefes means Chazore, it's not just the last word. The whole thing the Shortrim would repeat, right? Some Rabbi said, Trei Tanoim Aninu. So there are two Tanoim here. Some Machlokes. Madamar Moisif on the Divrei Rebbe. The Tana who explains our Mishnah. That it's a guy who's saying, who explains the pasuk actually. That is a guy who's saying, I add on to what my Rebbe says. And so of course he's not adding on, but rather Echad Rishonim, Echad Achronim. Both the previous statements about the houses and the wives and that and the Kerem, and this statement about Yoriv Elach Aleva. Amaran Huv, Amaran Rabbo. The Shoitim said it, and the Kohen, who's the Rebbe, so to speak, said as well. Ma'adu Amar, but the opinion which holds Achronim Min Tosefes, that the last words are the addition, are Rishonim, Amru Hu, Amru Rabbo. The first words about the Kerem, the Bayis, and the Isha were stated by the Shotrim after the Kohen said. V'achroinim, but the last words of Yori V'rach Aleva, that was not proper for a Kohen to say. Who would say that only the Kohen Shotrim would say it. Amru Hu, meaning the Shoter, the Lamar Avo, not his Rebbe, not the Kohen. Okay? That's Rabbi Yossi Shita. So Machlokes Tanoim. Amrei said, not true. Chad Tano, it's one Tano. Rishonim Amaran Hu. Everybody holds that the first words were stated by both he, the Shoter, Amaran Rabbo, and the Kohen as well. Achroidim, the last words, Amaran Hu, V'lo Amaran Rabbo. The last words were said by the Shoter and not by the Kohen. So it's not Machlokes. Everybody holds, not all, I think I said it wrong a minute ago. But not everybody holds that the Kohen would say the first part and the Shoter the first part, and the last part of the Yorach Leva was only said by the Shoter, not by the Kohen. So Raimona holds says Machlokes, Rabbi Yossi holds says Machlokes Tanoim on this issue. Raimona holds that Chazal are monolithic on this issue. It's only one opinion. And the one opinion is that everything was repeated up till Yori Barach Leva. Yori Barach Leva was stated only by the Shotrim and not by the Kohen. Okay? By the way, all this is not in the Bavli. Now, Mastisa Pliga, our Rabbi Yossi, it says in front of you, right? You see that there? Everybody goes nuts. What Bryce argues Rabbi Yossi? All the Mefarshim. Bnei Korneda, Bnei Moshe, Ribaz, Mecha, Mayim, Shai Torah, Yisrael, everybody I looked at today goes crazy. You know why? Because they were pre-Bekoff. Because I'll tell you what has to be changed here. The word Yossi here has to be changed to Mana from the next line, and the word Mana in the next line has to be changed to Yossi, which is a frequent occurrence in the Yerushalmi, right? That the names get mixed up. And now everything will make sense. Nobody changes except me, in the interest of honesty. I'm telling you that, but that doesn't make me any less correct. It's great to be a Baal Gaiva. Okay, Masisa Pliga Rabbi Mana. Alright, the following Brisa argues Rabbi Mana. What Brisa? The one I'm about to quote. Everybody goes nuts. Where's the Brisa? But here is right here. There's a quote. Shamea Parsha Mipi Kohen. He said, here's the Parsha from the Kohen. V'amar la'am b'chol lashon. He says it to the nation in any language he wants. That Brisa argues explicitly in Rabbi Mana. Rabbi Mana said, the Kohen said part, and then the Shaiter says part. This Brisa leaves no such alternative. It says, he hears from the Kohen, and then he repeats what the Kohen said in his own language. Clearly argues Rabbi Mana, who holds that the last part of Yorev Rach Leva was stated only by the Shoter, not by the Kohen. Okay? Say for the end of that Brisa, Pliga argues al Rabbi Yossi. They were changed around as well. What's the Sefer? Here it is explicitly again. O Dover Echad Hum Oya Mosif Mishalom. It says that he would add on another thing of his own, right? This a quote from the Brisa. Well, it says O Dover Echad Mosif Oya Mosif Mishalom. Sounds quite explicitly like Rabbi Mana, not like Rabbi Yossi, because Rabbi Yossi said that there is in fact a Tana who holds that everything was repeated, not that it was Mosif on his own. So it's not going like Rabbi Yossi. Now it says In Teimar Kain Afilu. Obviously that's incorrect too. It should be Afilu in Tim Teimar Kain. Afilu should be at the beginning. Transpose the word Afilu from the last word in the phrase I just read and make it the first word. That's really what it means to say. Afilu Teimar as Rabbi Yossi. Even if you're going to want to say it's going like Rabbi Yossi, Leisu Pliga doesn't argue Rabbi Yossi. Your last kasha is a klutz kasha. Because nothing can argue Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Yossi says there are two Tanoim. Rabbi Mana is the one who said there's one Tana. If we have a Brisa which says other than Rabbi Mana, so it's a kasha from Rabbi Mana. But Rabbi Yossi says there are two Tanoim. Whatever Tana you find, Rabbi Yossi will pigeonhole in one Tana of his or the second Tana of his. Does it say, Afilu in Teimar Kain, even you're going to say that the last part of the Brisa literally means that the Shoter would add something of his own. Rabbi Yossi, Leisu Pliga. It's not how Rabbi Yossi. The Tana we learned, Hari Shrenim Amaron, the first, Amranu, Amran Rabbo, the first statements were made by both the Shoter and the Kohen. The last statements were made by the Shoter and not by the Kohen. So this last fragment of the Brisa you brought down, that works out perfectly fine according to Rabbi Yossi, according to the opinion Rabbi Yossi brought down, that there was Taka Osofa. So there's a kasha Rabbi Mana, because the Rambam holds it's monolithic. There is no Tana who holds that the whole parsha was said by the Kohen and then reiterated. If I find a Tana who says explicitly that way, it's Takekasha, Rabbi Mana. But Rabbi Yossi can't ask a kasha because Rabbi Yossi covered both bases. Okay? Period. That was easy, right? It's the only difficult passage of the evening. Tani, we learned. Kulam tzrichim lo'avi yuraya l'divrei. Now this is an interesting thing. The Yerushalmi doesn't speak about how a soldier actually proves that he's 4F. Right? 4F, I think 4F is sent from the draft, right? Before your time. What?
defeats the purpose.
What defeats the purpose?
As we can prove.
Why?
Because the whole point is so that the other people won't be upset, won't be embarrassed.
Ah, Gemara's going to get there. You're saying good. Not yet. In the meantime, that's what we're about to discuss. Tani, everybody's got a pre and proof. He's got a full proof. He's got a new wife. He's got a new house. He's got a new vineyard. Unless he has witnesses with him. Unless his buddy soldiers say, yeah, Itaka has a new house, new wife, new keren. Right? Vatsi commander, now that's going like the opinion Dano. Like the opinion that the guys who are Varacha Levov is Taka coward. So it's not so embarrassing, if he brings a psychologist, and the psychologist says, yeah, Taka can't stand his right of blood, so it's not a conscientious objector. So, okay, let him bring proof too also that he can't stand his right of blood, right? However, but according to people, Yori Baruch Levov means they're afraid of Averos. Right, you want him to bring a proof? Hey, it's a Baal Avera. That defeats the purposes. Donald said it before. That's what Torah gave him all these excuses. So you can claim he's going back because of them. In order not to publicize those who sin. And this was a very famous Yerushalmi brought down elsewhere. I mean, it's famous only to those of us who have learned Yerushalmi, but it should be famous to the whole world. Asi is the guy that married Levi, Shem ben Lakish. The Kalei is the name of Shem ben Lakish. B'malkam asher tishachi ta'ola tishachi rachat l'sipnei Hashem. Where the Ola is slaughtered in the Beis HaMikdash, the Chatos is slaughtered in the same place, so it should be inconspicuous. So if I say not to publicize the sinners, the Sefer brings the Chatos, people think maybe he's just bringing an Ola. So to here, we would not require Eidos for him to prove that he's in the parameter of a sinner. No questions asked. He can just go home. Okay. When the officers finished speaking to the nation, they put generals or captains, whatever, officers at the front of the nation. And Ba'kevo Shalom in the back of the nation too. It's not clear whether it's two separate phrases or one phrase. Sounds from the Gemara and the Yerushalmi. Rosh Shalom, Ba'kevo Shalom is one long run-on sentence. And Rosh Shalom means in the back of the nation. Because what do they do? Ma'amidim skifim livnei v'achem achrev. They take two sets of appointees, people in charge. And there's some in front and some back. The ones in back, they have metal irons in their house, so in their hands. Metal axes, actually. Metal axes. Everybody wants to go back home. After the war has begun, they have permission to amputate his calves, to chop off his legs. Why should chilas in the filo and nisan? The beginning of falling is fleeing. Remember it says, the Jews fled before the Philistines. Then the Gama gave a and there was a great flip playing among the nation. And later on it says, the people of Israel fled before the Philistines. And that's when they fell casualties. And now that's when Shaul and Yonson died. Now when is this true? The people can't go back home. Milchemes Harshus by an optional war. However, in Milchemes Mitzvah, when it's a war of mitzvah, everybody goes. Even the groom from his quarters. The Kal Mechubasa and the Kal from her chuppah. Rabbi of course, they don't go to war. The women, they go to the support work, right? Rabbi Yehuda says, when do they go back? When can they go back? By Milchemes Sotah. But if it's a mandatory war, everybody goes out. If you do Chasam Yichadro, even the Chasam, the Kal, Mechubasa, and the Kal as well. And more casual issue is going to be what Rabbi Yehuda's Machlokas is with Tanakama. Okay? Ksiv, it says, now this is not in the Bible either. when the nation concludes, when the officers conclude speaking to the nation, they put officers at the front of the nation. Only know the front of the nation. So far, we know also the end of the nation, right? The ram field from leading the field of battle. Tamlum or paktu. It says paktu twice. And we dash in the extra language to mean two sets of officers. Akadu Krabi Yikiv, that's good Krabi Yikiv who dashes extra sets of language. But however, Krabi Shmuel, what are you going to do, Krabi Shmuel? Shmuel says, wherever you have extra language, it's Dibra Tarklush Bnei which is the Torah speaking like human beings. Doesn't have any significance. So how do we know, according to Rabbi Shmuel, that they also used to put it's first at the back. So it says Gemara Meir. Skip. Shmuel says called Krabi Meir. When Shmuel says Krabi Meir, there are Meir Tzavach, or Meir used to call the Sovi the Chevel, the end of the rope, Reshe, the head of the rope. In other words, you have two in a rope. He had two heads, the head, and the end head. And then when it says they put Sovi Tzavach at the head of the nation, it means the end head. Okay. That's what it means to say. Meir says, Ksiv, it says, a chacham eina barosho. A wise man has... yeah. Right. That's right. Because what we actually see is that Shmuel holds Dibra Losh Me'odam also learns out from there. Because he's learned that Chevel is called, the end of a rope is called beginning. I may said Aksiva Chacham Eina Barosha. A Chacham, his eyes are in his head. Aksiva Bameh, so where the fool's legs? Baragla, were they in his feet? No, when I was a kid, in 9th grade, Purim time, the Rosh Hashiva got up and gave a shmuz, and he gave a Purim Torah shmuz. And it was so funny. This is, I was in the Tiv Meir at the time. The Rosh Hashiva was Rabbi Ari Bina, and he was an Alta Mirror, came to Eretz Yisrael, and became the Rosh Hashiva. The Yeshiva founded the Tiv Meir. And I don't remember, it was amazing, it was so funny. It was hilarious. I don't remember any of it except for one line. The way he started was, I asked him the question, where were Achashverosh's eyes? His eyes couldn't have been in his head, because it says, Achacham Eina Barosha. But he couldn't have been in his legs either, because Sheker ain't lo raklayim. So it couldn't have been in his head, and he didn't have any legs, so it must have been, his eyes must have been where he sat. That's all I remember, but I remember that was the starting point, and he embarked on that in a very elaborate Purim Torah, continuing on from there. So I don't remember. I guess if I was bright enough, I could sit down and construct something based on that. But that was it was amazing, amazing speech. Okay, so it says so what does it mean? Taka? What does it mean? Can't mean literally. So what does it mean? So I'm Rabbi Rabbi said, "Hachacham achu b'rosh shadavar means a chacham, but it's still at the beginning of the matter. Yodeu my besofo. It's like Ezu chacham aroes anola. He knows it's going to happen later on. Chacham eina barosha means at the beginning he looks b'rosh hadavar. He looks and he sees. Sofo, he sees what's going to happen at the end, and he plans accordingly. Okay. God gedudi yegudenu. Pasuk and gracious. Let's start from it. Guy saw asay, the guy stay. The Gdud is a battalion or legion of bandits here. So it says the bandits come to banditize him, right? And to vandalize him. V'hum the guy stay, and he vandalizes them instead. God, Gdud, those who come up against him as a battalion, Yigudenu, he will overcome them. Okay? That's just like an intermissionary statement there. Rabbi Yehuda, now came back to the Mishnah. Kirimas Nisa. Is our Mishnah. Our Mishnah is Shetchilas Nefila Nisa. It seems there was a version, but didn't actually make it into our Mishnah, Mahedin to the Bavli, where it says Tchilas Nisa Nefila. The beginning of fleeing is falling. And then obviously it should be the opposite. That's what the Mishnah is saying here, that the proper gears of the Mishnah is that the beginning of falling is fleeing. Because obviously falling here means not falling down flat on the ground, but falling and losing the war. Okay? Now, I'm continuing the Mishnah. The Tadakam is distinguishing Milchemes Rishus and Milchemes Mitzvah. Rabbi Yehuda distinguishing between Milchemes Mitzvah and Milchemes Choiva. Says the Gemara, says Rabbi Yochanan, this is also in the Bavli. It's just terminology. One guy's Milchemes Rishus is the other guy's Milchemes Mitzvah, the other guy's Milchemes Mitzvah is the other guy's Milchemes Choiva, but it's just terminological. Rabbi Yehuda calls Milchemes Rishus Milchemes Mitzvah. Rabbi Yehuda used to call Milchemes Rishus Milchemes Mitzvah. Milchemes Choiva, but if it's a mandatory war, but Tara call the Milchemes Mitzvah. Everybody goes out. Even a chosin from his roof, they call him michupas and a kala from a chuppah. Now I'm Rav Chisa, and this same thing Rav Chisa is in the Bibli name of Rava. Rav Chisa machlokas b'nei knows the real machlokas between the two of them. It's not just terminological; it's a real machlokas. Rabbanan milchemes mitzvah, zu milchemes David. It's milchama of David HaMelech, and David HaMelech was the conqueror, of course. Syria, right? He conquered Syria, but it wasn't really the with the author. What? But nevertheless, according to Rabbanan, that's Milchemes Mitzvah. What's Milchemes Choiva? What's Milchemes Mitzvah Choiva? The Zum Milchemes Rabbi Shua. That's Yoshua's wars. Conquered Syria. Of course, he was commanded to do so. Rabbi Yehuda called Milchemes Rishus. Rabbi Yehuda called Milchemes Rishus. What do you call Milchemes Rishus? He didn't draw a distinction between Kibush Eretz Yisrael in one way, Kibush Eretz Yisrael another way, but rather you call Milchemes Rishus Kigon the Anan Dazlin and Aleo. So when we go out to conquer, wage war against them. Milchemes Choiva Kigon the Dazlin on Alin on they come against us. Alin on. L'maisa, the Rambam it makes a mess out of this. He incorporates everything. It says Milchemes Mitzvah is to conquer Eretz Yisrael when it's sanctioned, or because of somebody who comes against us to wage war against us. But he doesn't, so he really takes both shitas here, both Rabban and Rabbi Yehuda, and makes a conglomerate entity of it. Anyway, Stephen says, Ramelch Asa Shmias Kol Yehuda Ein Naki. Asa brought all of the tribe of Yehuda. Nobody was exempt. Ma'oi Naki, Rabbi Simon, Rabbanin, Rabbi Simon, Rabbanin have machlokas. Rabbi Simon said it's ein Naki lebeis u'sha'achas. Nobody could go back home, even a chassan, even one moment, much less for an entire year. Rabbanin, lates Rebbe beRebbe. He didn't give an exemption for rabbinical students or let the yeshiva bachrim out of the draft. So that's what that was, and he was punished. Because I'll say elsewhere is punished that he got ill in his legs because he didn't leave the Talmidei Chachamim off the hook of going to war. Okay? New parak. Egla Rufa. When the Egla Rufa is done, they may have a pronouncement to make. You know what Egla Rufa is, right? Right? So they make a pronouncement. The Lashon HaKodesh must be done still in Hebrew. Shemat says, Kimati Chalo Ba'adama, when a corpse is found in the ground. Your elders and your judges go out and 3 people from the main base of Yerushalmi, they go out as well. Not just from the city, but also from Yerushalmi. Remember, Chamisha 5, not 3. Shema is the Kinecha, that's Shtayim 2. Rushvot Shavtecha Shtayim, that's 2. A base Yisrael, you can't have a balanced basin. You add one more to make it 5. Says more. Where do we see it in the pasuk quoted in the Mishnah that it has to be in Hebrew? Doesn't say anything there. So, it has to be in Hebrew. That was the point. Our Mishnah has to be in Hebrew. Where does it say that pasuk? So it says more. Let me stop a da ella. The law in the Yerushalmi is da ella. It's a contraction. Doesn't make sense to say in the pasuk in the Gemara, according to Mishnah, rather from Vanavamro. Vanavamro is in Lashon HaKodesh. So what is it? Why does it say here Kimatzi Chalol in the Mishnah? We wanted to begin from the beginning of the parsha and take a flying leap into it because we wanted to give more drushes. And therefore, even though the drush about giving in Hebrew is late in the parsha, we started with the beginning of the parsha. Okay, so it says the Yerushalmi further, Ki motzei, tap memorav ki motzei, where should it be found? Lo b'shah shemetzuyin, not in a time when there are many of them around. By the way, all the rest of this is not in the Bavli. What does that mean? It means, it seems, the like the second shot of Pnei Moshe, that not at a time of war. Time where there are many corpses in the battlefield, right? So therefore, you can assume that the elders of the closest city are somehow responsible. There was probably a battle which went on here, right? So therefore, a time when the corpse is prevalent around, you don't use the Egla Rufa method, okay? Ki motzei. It also says, when you find the corpse, shet lo shetei chozer u'mitzuseitz olav. Not that you're going and checking out for it. In other words, it just happened. You happened to stumble upon it. Not that you went to try and dig it out somewhere. On the other hand, says the Gemara, ein metzia b'chom ki motzei ein metzia b'chom makom el eidim. It has to be done with witnesses, because metzia is like ki motzei adover. Got to be with witnesses that they found the body. Says, what are you talking about? How can you say that? It says, lo noda miko, when you bring it, when you don't know who smote him. Ha noda miko, it sounds like if you know who smote him, meaning that he was smitten dead. Afilu evet, afilu shivcha, even if a slave knows. Lo yorgin, we wouldn't kill the, we would not kill the, lo orphan, we would not, do not wring the neck of the animal, right? And here you're saying that no, as long as there are witnesses, you do will wring the neck of the animal. It's a contradiction. It says no, you misunderstood what he meant. In finding the body, you need definitely to find a body. And if the body's not in front of you, you need two witnesses that said that the body was found. But in knowing who the murderer was, that you shouldn't have to bring Egla Rufa, there it's, even if you don't have true witnesses who the murderer was, even if you have an Isha or an Evan who tells you the murderer was, that suffices to not do Egla Rufa. Okay? So two different things. Says the Gemara, if it was a slave who said, that Imroyim Ono so Makirna, so they say if we see him we'll recognize him, then we don't do our rifa, even if it's an ever shivcha. However, both in Shlomo they said Imroyim Ono so ain't Ono Makirna, so they say yeah we knew he was, but now we would not recognize him, but we saw him in a lineup. In that case, or in that case, they continue on to do Egla Rufa. Okay? Says the Gemara, Basin Shrosa Horig. What a basin saw. What time do you have? 12 after? Okay. Well, maybe I'll go a little bit further. I don't really want to go so far tonight because I don't want to deprive Dr. Spidel. And we did too blood. All right, let's stop here for today. This is a stopping point. I want to tell you, we'll come to it tomorrow actually, but I saw an amazing Dvar of Rom today. It comes up tomorrow. It really is no Ger Purim as well. So it's Chodesh Adar. We have to mention something about Purim again. So he says that it's basically Yerushalmi later. What happens if you cut off somebody's head and a nace occurs and he comes back to life? So the Vavram says we put you to death anyway. Because you killed him. The fact that he was resurrected again, that's Panim Chadashas Bo Lakan. It's a new thing. It's a Nesa HaKadosh Baruch Hu did. But as far as you're concerned, you actually killed the guy. So therefore you're put to death for it. So I was wondering, based on that, whether one could say some new and insightful shot, although I didn't come up with anything, but a new and insightful shot in that which it says in the Gemara Megillah, that Rabbah got up and shachte the Rabbi Zera. And that even though he brought him back to life, it says there, but he said he doesn't want to take him back. Right? He didn't want to try it again the next year. So maybe the reason maybe one could say that's a raya against the Dvar Avram, because like the Dvar Avram, what do you mean? La b'chol shayta v'srachish nisa. You're chayav misa for you did in and of itself. The fact that did a nace and brought him back to life is not something which is not something which gets you out of the situation of being a murderer. So I'm not sure if that Gemara actually looks like the Dvar Avram. But anyways, as I said, we'll come back to that tomorrow night. It's relevant to next.